Carey should go. He longed to go. He was absolutely desperate to go. But he had a problem. His wife didn't want to go. Dorothy. And an interesting series of events take place. You can decide for yourself. I've got my opinions. I'll tell you what they are in a moment. Dorothy Carey said, "I'm not going." She has this enthusiastic, driven husband who is consumed with world mission, who for most of his life has desired to go to other places, and since becoming a Christian has desired to go to other places with the gospel. And without much thought, upon being asked, "Will you now be our missionary?" Carey just basically says, "Yeah." Without much thought, he's into it. And he rushes home and basically says, "Pack your bags, dear, we're going to India." And she is left reeling. She was afraid and she refused. In 5 generations, no member of her family, her large family, had moved any more than 10 miles from that locality in Northamptonshire. 5 generations of her family were situated there. And for her to go to India would be her worst nightmare. An absolute nightmare. The descriptions that we have of her are very, very good. She wasn't a bad woman. No, she was kind. She was gentle. She was good-hearted. She was a loving wife. She was a good mother. She was a loyal soul. She was a faithful person. But she freaked out at the thought of going to India. She'd been a help to Carey, as Carey worked in the church and worked as a shoemaker and worked as a schoolmaster. And she was a great woman. But she thought that her husband was going a little insane. Carey went ahead and accepted the appointment as a missionary to India. The date for the sailing was set, and Carey left, pressing her to the last minute. "Come with me." He was going. "Come with me." And she wouldn't go. She couldn't go. She was for staying. Just imagine the drama. Carey took his oldest son, Felix, and went to the port. He boarded the ship, and the ship was delayed due to bad weather. The bad weather was going to last for several days, and Carey took the opportunity to get back off the ship and head home again and plead with his wife to leave with him and bid farewell to her family. And in that kind of haste, as he comes through the door, "Look, one more chance, let's go." She yielded and she packed her bags. She briefly bid farewell to her family, and she was literally gone in a few hours. She was hustled out the door, down to the ship, and she was on board before she realised what was happening, and she was never to return to England again. She adapted very, very poorly in India. The heat, the food, the water, the living conditions, the sanitary conditions, all took their toll on Dorothy. She was subject to constant fevers, bouts of sickness and illness, and to make matters worse, it seems that she was permanently depressed. The Careys often were in total poverty in India in those early months and those early couple of years at times. It seems they were forgotten. As we'll mention in a moment, there were some controversies that at times it looked as if nobody was willing to send them any more money. She was very lonely. For 13 years, she locked herself in her home and refused to come out. For 13 years. Very depressed. And she died a very sad and slow death. It raises questions, doesn't it? Big question. Should William Carey, the father of foreign missions, the hero of the mission fields, should he ever have gone in the first place? I believe not. That's my opinion. Husbands, love your wives as Christ loves the church. Dwell with your wives according to understanding, knowing that they're the weaker vessel. And so my opinion is settled. And yet, God took Carey up nevertheless and used him mightily. The father of modern missions is in many ways very controversial. Yet we're left with the name William Carey. He had his faults. This was a big fault, undoubtedly.